Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Professor Hall, and today we're doing a mini lesson on how to paraphrase. Moo. I just said that. Use your own words. I like this little cartoon because this is essentially what paraphrasing is all about. And we're going to talk about different ways we can use our own words to have an effective paraphrase. So let's get started. Isn't a paraphrase just a summary? I actually have students ask me this a lot, and I think it's kind of confusing because the two are similar. We're going to talk about summaries in a different little mini lesson, but I just need the main ideas. That's basically what a summary comes down to. Sometimes people think that a paraphrase is the same as a summary, but in a summary, you take a long portion of text. So it could be a page, maybe of an article, could be a whole article or a whole essay, a chapter, or even an entire book. And you recap or rewrite the author's main points using your own words. So this is something that a lot of teachers will ask you to do, usually to make sure that you've read what they've assigned and to see whether or not you understood it. They'll ask you to write a summary. And as I said, we'll talk about that and why we use a summary in an essay, which is a little bit different than why we do a paraphrase. But let's look at paraphrases for right now. So what exactly is a paraphrase? It's a little bit like a summary, but it looks at a shorter piece of text, like a sentence, sometimes two sentences, and sometimes even a short paragraph. Then you restate or reword that text using your own words. So my biggest thing to remember is same idea, new language. So you're keeping the author's main idea from that short piece of text, but you don't use the same language as the original text, because if you do, then like these two houses, you're going to be plagiarizing. So you can kind of see here, little window on the first house, no window on the second. This one has crisscross bars on this window. It has an extra post and a cloud in front of the sun. But this is kind of like if you had your paper go through something like Turnitin or on Blackboard, Safe Assign. If you have your paper go through something like that and the percentage comes up as 95% similar. That's kind of what's happening here, right? So paraphrasing and putting things in your own words is important so that you get that similarity score down so that things aren't quite so much the same as the original text that you were supposed to be looking at. So why do we paraphrase? Well, sometimes in an essay, you want to use a paraphrase if you've already included a lot of quotes. Again, having too many quotes will bring that plagiarism score up, even if you're citing things the correct way. And your teacher might say to you, hey, you have a lot of quotes in here, and I need to hear more from you and less from this author. So it helps give you a better balance between your words and the author's words. Other times, you want to use a paraphrase to help your reader understand a difficult concept. So this is a little cartoon of two guys talking. The one is trying to explain something to the other, and it's getting jumbled up in the middle, right? Well, a paraphrase is when you put something in your own words so it's easier for your reader to understand. So it's a tool that writers use a lot when they're explaining difficult concepts, and it's something that teachers have to use often as well, rewording things so that the students can understand. Which is the best paraphrase? So here's the original text. This is from a story from this weekend. There were some wildfires in California. So the original says, wildfires burning from the Mexico border to the forest of Sierra Nevada spread a curtain of smoke over California on Monday. I picked this because I think this phrase is interesting, a curtain of smoke. So how can we reword this? Well, number one, wildfires that burned from the Mexico border to the forest of the Sierra Nevada spread a curtain of smoke over California. Two, Wildfires are currently burning from Mexico to Nevada, adding to the already polluted California, which struggles with air quality. 3. This week, wildfires burned throughout Southern California, causing the state to be filled with smoke. So which one is the best? Well, let's take a look at them again. This first one, I highlighted in yellow and underlined in case you can't see the yellow. The border to the from Mexican border to the forests of the Sierra Nevada spread a curtain of smoke over California. Okay, so this whole part in yellow is the exact same language as what's up here above. So it's going to be too close, and it's really going to be plagiarized and not a proper paraphrase. 2, I have highlighted polluted California, and it struggles with air quality. And those are ideas that were not in the original text. The original text just is reporting about the wildfires, right? It's not talking about pollution at all. So there we've lost the author's main idea. The other problem is that the Sierra Nevada is actually a mountain range in California. It's not just part of Nevada. And it's not burning in Mexico. It's burning on the Mexican border. So the third one, this week, wildfires burned throughout Southern California, causing the state to be filled with smoke. So I have wildfires and burned. I can't really rewrite those, but the rest of it is all paraphrased. The Mexican border is at the bottom of California. The Sierra Nevada mountains are about in the middle. So yeah, throughout Southern California is a good way to describe that without using those exact terms. And the reader who might not know where the mountains are, you're explaining it for them to make it a little bit easier for them to picture. All right, let's do another example. And we'll do some practice this time. Original. The school's superintendent, Toby Waite, told the Fresno Bee that a church, a library, and a historic general store appear to have survived the fire, although Waite's home burned after his family was evacuated early Saturday. So this is from a different story. You can see a different last name here in the citation. A different story about this wildfire in California. So when I do a paraphrase, the first thing I look at are the words that I want to replace. So I don't necessarily need to say historic general store. And if I have readers that might not understand larger words, maybe I'm rewriting this for kids, I might not say survived or evacuated. But those are also pretty easy words where I can use a thesaurus. If you remember, I showed you guys how to do that, Microsoft Word, and you can always use thesaurus online, right, as well, if you're not working in Word. What words or phrases can I leave out? Well, this is from the Fresno Bee, but I don't necessarily need to have that in my paraphrase. It's not the most important main idea. So what is the main idea that I need to keep? Well, I need to keep the fact that Toby Waite, the school superintendent, his house burned down, but other buildings were okay. That's basically the idea there. So let's go to the rewrite. Toby Waite is the school superintendent whose house burned in the fire. Thankfully, Waite and his family safely left the area on Saturday, and the other buildings near his home were saved. So here in yellow, I have what I could not reword. He's the school superintendent. That's his title, right? It would take a lot of words to kind of explain that job. So I left that in yellow and I underlined it. But there's a couple words that I replaced, and those are in green and bold. So house instead of home, safely left the area instead of evacuated. And here, instead of a church, a library, and a store, I just put the other buildings. And instead of survived, I put were saved. So it keeps the main idea, but it's just rewriting it in my own words so that maybe the voice sounds a little bit like me, or maybe I don't have quite so many quotes, or maybe I'm making it a little bit easier for my readers to understand, which is really going to be the case with our next practice. So this is from the USDA Forest Service about how they do control burning to prevent forest fires. So here's what they say. Controlled burning is any fire intentionally ignited to meet specific land management objectives, such as to reduce flammable fuels, restore ecosystem health, recycle nutrients, or prepare an area for new trees or vegetation. So I have a lot of phrases here that might make it difficult for the reader to understand. Intentionally ignited, restore ecosystem health, recycle nutrients, all of those things. It's a little bit technical in the language, right? So I want to reword a lot of this to make it easier for my reader to understand. So there's the original again, and here's my rewrite. The USDA Forest Service practices, and then I put this in quotes, controlled burning for a number of different reasons. They need to decrease the number of flammable items on the forest floor, help nutrients return to the soil, and make the environment healthy so that new trees and plants can grow. So I've kept controlled burning, and I put it in quotes because maybe that's a specific definition that I'm trying to explain, right? And I'm also keeping nutrients because that's a word that, again, kind of like superintendent. Nutrients are what they are. And I don't want to say vitamins and minerals because that's not really the same thing when it comes to soil. But I have, instead of reduce, I have decrease. Instead of fuels, I have items on the forest floor. Return to the soil instead of recycle. Environment instead of ecosystem. And plants instead of vegetation. So I've replaced a lot of the words here, but I hope you can see that the main ideas are still there. I'm explaining why the Forest Service decides to try to use control burning. So recap, here's another example of some source text. When you write a paraphrase, you should keep the author's original idea, but you should rewrite the passage using your own words. This can help balance your words with the author's and can help clarify confusing passages for your reader. Remember, you still have to cite any ideas that are not your own. If you noticed, I had the citations, and you can watch my other videos about how to cite things, but you have to still cite any ideas that are not your own. So paraphrases still require a citation just like quotes do. And here's our final example. The need for investors to earn a commercial return may put upward pressure on prices. That's the source text. The paraphrase, the need for profit is likely to push up prices. Boom. Same idea, but a lot more simple, right? Putting it in your own words helps to make things easier for your reader to understand. So remember, same idea, new language, and make sure that you include that citation, just like you would with a quote. That's it. Thanks, everybody.